So my name is Alia, and I'm an organizer for 15 in Fairness at York. And I want to talk about some of the solidarity efforts for the strike. Although there's a lot of people here who had participated and had planned those actions, so if I'm missing anything or you want to chime in, we'll do it all at discussion. So as mentioned, some of you may know that York is seen as a strike school. I'll come back to that point, but I want to pick up on what Melissa was saying about this not being like a typical strike at York, because usually, like when we had a strike in 2015 with TAs and faculty and some faculty, they set up a picket line at one of the entrances at York, and of course classes were canceled, right? This was a major disruption, and it was in media, like it was a big deal, but this wasn't a typical strike like that, right? Yes, there were workers on the picket line at the entrance, but we knew as allies that we had to bring it, on campus and, tell people to go support workers at the picket, but then bring, rallies and action inward at the campus, right? As workers and as students, we believed that we had to bring it like in the hallways, in the classrooms, etc. So before the strike happened, there was a lot of planning beforehand. In fact, even here are some more workers from Thanks so much for coming. So as I said, organizing for the strike happened well before the actual strike took place last February. So in 2015, 15 in Fairness at York had already formed. We were doing petitioning, doing some actions already. And a group called Real Food, Real Jobs had formed in spring of 2016, I believe. So they were a group of students who were interested in sourcing better, like local organic food at York University, and then they also wanted to support, better paid jobs on campus. So they were already organizing meetings with workers, pretty much weekly, I would say, to talk about these issues, and we are anticipating that a strike was going to happen for the following school year, right? And I think this work was really necessary because already, we were working with the 15 in Fairness petition, doing some of that political work to, talk to students and especially talk to them about precarious work, right? And the advantage, as already mentioned, of workers and students plugging into 15 in Fairness was that we had the support of people in the campaign. So actually at our downtown meetings, we were already talking about, how to support. We were talking about the strike at York and how to support it. But then by the time of that the strike happened, we didn't have to say just simply, support these workers because they serve us every day and they need your support. But, we should support this struggle because it's going to have an impact on the broader campaign, right? That we can use this if we, really build up this struggle at York, it will influence other food service sectors and other low wage sectors and encourage, those other workers to fight for 15 in Fairness, right? I think that was really necessary to make those connections, and I think at York, because, people had seen some of the work that we had been doing through petitioning, they could see our shirts and our logos that they were starting to make those connections. So a victory at York was a victory for the campaign, right? And so some of that work was through petitioning, through getting students involved and aware of the campaign, but then also having a small group of students in 15 in Fairness who, like myself, are fairly new to activism, right? But to get them informed, to get them, involved in organizing, especially with Real Food, Real Jobs meetings. So they were already, becoming familiar with political issues and keeping the strike in mind. I think it was good for that preparation before the strike actually happened. So the months leading up to the strike, we were doing actions like demonstrations in the cafeteria. We had demonstrations rallies where we were going from place to place, of these food service locations. So that was great, and that's where we invited other campus allies to come. So people from the York Federation of Students, the Undergrad Students Union, people from other unions and other community groups at York University. We invited them to come to this. But doing leafleting, class talks, going to the York president's office. He didn't respond. He didn't even show up, right? Or maybe snuck out the back door, had his driver take him out. And, those were fun in terms of building momentum and getting people, aware and involved and anticipating the strike. But the president didn't respond, right? So we knew we had to do other things. And I think key to actually like getting groups and different students together was what was called cross-campus alliance. So it was a collective of student union representatives, people from other trade unions and community groups on campus. They were really key to pulling these groups together, right? Getting everyone informed and aware that the strike was happening. So it was a good way. I don't have much experience with them. I'm sure James can talk more about that. But I think it's a really good collective to get people aware of like, shared struggles and how they can support each other. But they were really key to organizing these rallies, like I said, that had, so many different groups coming together. And actually I want to mention that those demonstrations going from different food locations, that it was really great to not only talk about what was happening with the strike, but then also like precarious work, how this is affecting students, then also the issues of discrimination and racism in these food service locations, right? So then we specifically had speakers talk about anti-blackness, about Islamophobia. So it was really good to, have those people talk and connect these struggles, right? I think it was really, really phenomenal for that. And then also, I'm hoping that by going to different locations, it's not like we drew out like hundreds and thousands of people, to come to these rallies, but that it was important to be there to show support for workers, to, give workers confidence, say like, we support you, and just be very visible about that, right? I'm hoping that it had like a really good effect on those workers at their locations. But the Cross-Campus Alliance was really key to producing posters and then also creating a website, York15.ca, so that had a letter that people could simply sign on, and then it was sent to the York President, Board of Governors, other VPs, and it was showing support for the food service workers on strike. They had a video, so Alex Lisman, you really have to thank them for doing really excellent for that, because there's such high quality videos, and of course again like showing all the different allies on campus and talking about the strike. So it's good to share. What else? When the indefinite strike began, so we were doing these different rallies and had the posters and everything, but in a sense we had to up the ante, right? And unfortunately when the indefinite strike started, one Aramark manager had gone back to work and opened a Tim Hortons location, so it was like shit, like that was one of the moments where it's like, hey, we really have to like do something, like target this location, right? So then that's where the Solidarity Coffee came into play. So the idea was to have with that Tim's being open, to have like one or two student volunteers go to the beginning of the line and say like, it was really hard because how much like people love their Tim's, like their coffee. They did not want to get out of that line, but to say like, this is what's going on, please support the workers, here's he gave leaflets, here's the information, here are the locations that were affected, because it was really complex, right? Like students didn't take the time to like stop and listen. They just, they sometimes are really oblivious to what's going on at York. So we had to have like that information, give it to them very fast, but then we could also offer the option of like, here is coffee for free. Then we had some people from the YFS, so York Federation of Students, giving out that coffee, and it worked really well because sometimes the line was nearly empty, right? So it worked well, but then it was also expensive. We couldn't do this all the time. We did it about once a week when the strike started, so then we had to resort to other actions, which I'm just going to explain really quickly. But in a meeting with some of us from 15 in Fairness and some veteran organizers, I would say, came up with the idea of crashing York Days. So this was a day when they would give tours of the campuses, and they invite parents and students to come, and it's like really important for the university to get a good image out there. So they invested a lot in these York Days. So we thought that to counter this, that we would create a website called York.Ca, which looked exactly like the York homepage. And say like, we invite students to come support the workers, actually, and to, basically crash these York Days where they're having, the students and the parents come in. So it was a great like counteraction and a good threat, I think, right, to York. And yeah, like I said, it looked exactly like the York website. It said, this is your campus on strike. So York hates this because they're known as like a school that's always on strike. So that was very intentional. Inviting people to come for, to come to the York tour, but to support the workers, and it had the letter, videos, etc. So I think it went live a week before one of the tour days was going to happen, and they took notice. The admin took notice, and Evan can explain they even mistakenly, like there were tweets about the York strike day, they mistakenly retweeted that information. So like this was great because York can be oblivious at times too, but they took notice, they felt threatened by it. And we learned that apparently in one of the last bargaining meetings that York was desperate to take down this website. And they said, we're going to give you, like, if not most of the demands, if you take this down and you make sure that this action does not happen, right? And, it's really great because at times it feels like, you can't really get to York. You can't attack them. They're thinking of, like, I think they're really mindful of how, like, students, especially in past strikes, are, trying to get back at the university. So sometimes it feels kind of hopeless, but this was their weakness, right? To target their image and to create that website. And it's still live, we learned. I think they tried to take it down, but it's actually still live. And maybe Pam, you could show what it looks like.
Can anyone see this? This is the original York website. So it's like, this is your campus. Thank you for experiencing York. It was actually called Experience York. And then the image this is the screenshot of the...
Yeah, so it had like their colors, it had, their format, like it looked like a legit website.
This is your campus on strike.
So apparently that might have been what very well broke the administration, right? And so I'm going to have to stop there. I just want to end by saying that, of course, like we're really proud of what's happened, and we really look forward to future struggles at York. I think the campaign is really gaining momentum. The York Federation of Students agreed to raise their wages of part-time students to $15. Some workers at Osgood are going to be earning $15, and we're hearing talks of like other unions, like other staff who are really interested in plugging into 15 in Fairness. So we want to make York University the first 15 in Fairness campus.